Howdy, y'all. This is Paul, the Redneck Thinker. What we have here is a channel to communicate. I want you folks to be thinking about the time you leave my videos. Why? Because I'm tired of people talking via what other people tell them to think. So, watch my video and enjoy the chance to think for yourself. Oh, and if you don't mind, like, subscribe, comment. And I've got a link tree down below that's got my social media. And it has my Patreon if you want to help out. Thank y'all. I'm going to cover something today. It's a little historical, but it's a little bit of a conspiracy theory. And I'm not saying that I believe that there was a conspiracy, but I'm not saying that I don't believe that there could have been one. Because U.S. Congressman Hale Boggs was a Democrat down in Louisiana. He and Nixon kind of went the opposite directions. Nixon got to the point that he didn't like him. You also have to remember that J. Edgar Hoover, the head of the FBI at the time, for decades actually, liked Nixon. Nixon was the kind of person who was willing to be anti-communist, was willing to give the FBI whatever rope that they wanted. And considering that Boggs was someone who spoke out against the FBI and also was not liked by Nixon, him dying mysteriously in a plane crash kind of makes everybody think some interesting thoughts. So let's get into this and see what you think. Now, I'm going to have in this video a interview. It's a long interview, but as you listen to it, this is Boggs talking. That's what you'll see. But he ran as an anti-Long, QEP Long, the governor of Louisiana. He ran against him in the 2nd Congressional District, and he defeated the incumbent in 1940. He was sworn in at 27, the youngest member of Congress. His initial election was not without controversy. 5 of his political allies who served in the Orleans Parish election commissioners were convicted of changing 97 votes for Boggs' Democratic primary opponents into votes for Boggs. Reached Supreme Court and establishing federal government's authority to regulate local primary elections, setting key precedent for later civil rights decisions. He, after an unsuccessful bid for renomination against his predecessor, he joined the U.S. Navy as an ensign, served the remaining World War II. After the war, he began his political comeback. He was again elected to Congress in 1946 and then re-elected 13 times. In 1951, launched an ill-fated campaign for governor. There was some questions as to him possibly having been part of something called the American Student Union that was thought to be partially communist, yada, yada, yada. He later, while serving as in Congress, was the youngest member of the Warren Commission, which went from 1963 to 1964, investigated the assassination of Kennedy. I've reported that he had differing positions regarding the Warren report, but he said in an interview that he didn't. Politico reported that Boggs dissented from the commission's majority report, which supported the single bullet thesis pointing to a lone assassin. Boggs said he had strong doubts about that. But like I said, in 1966, he went on Face the Nation and defended the commission's findings. It is unknown why his position was stated in such opposite terms, but conspiracy theorists have pondered the difference is as significant. Oliver Stone. Okay, we're not going to get into that. He served as majority whip from 62 to 71 and as majority leader from January 71 till his disappearance. He worked with Johnson, but when Nixon came in, when he attacked the FBI and J. Edgar Hoover. And Richard Nixon and Republican Minority Leader Gerald Ford, Nixon said he could no longer take counsel from Boggs as senior member of Congress. In a recording of this call, Nixon asked Ford to arrange House delegation to include an alternative to Boggs. Ford speculated that Boggs was either drinking too much or taking pills. April 71, Boggs went even further. Over the post-war years, we have granted to the elite and secret police within our system vast new powers over the lives and liberties of the people. At the request of trusted and respected heads of these forces and their appeal to necessity as national security, we have exempted those grants of power from due accounting and surveillance. Okay, so that's what he was doing before he disappeared. So let's hear this interview.
In private conversations and communications, excuse my throat. Numerous members of Congress have reported to me their firm conviction that their telephone conversations and activities are the subject of surveillance by the FBI, much as was done last fall by the military intelligence agencies. Several members have made available to me detailed information confirming my own experience, which substantiates these allegations. It is my intention to make proper use of this information in the very near future. The irony and the danger of this situation is that many of these allegations are difficult to substantiate without the services of a first-rate investigatory agency such as the FBI. When the chief law enforcement agency of the nation violates the law, then we're indeed in trouble. More important than charges and counter-charges, however, is the fundamental fact that a substantial number of members are firmly convinced that their phones are tapped by the FBI. In a recent poll of public figures, fully 1/4 reported that they have reason to suspect their phones were tapped. I believe the fear of phone tapping is as dangerous as a fact, for it can only chill the kind of free discourse we must have if we are to continue as a free society. Nowhere is free speech more vital than in the halls of Congress. It is the very essence of this organization, which is the People's Forum. The idea that members may be intimidated by fear of having their conversations overheard is one that is reprehensible. All of us love this free society. The basis of the freedoms in this country are in the Bill of Rights. And I'm afraid that the director has violated the Bill of Rights. Without our vigilance, the Bill of Rights will become a mere scrap of paper. And I don't intend, as a leader of the House of Representatives, to preside over the liquidation of the Bill of Rights of the Constitution. For these reasons, I again suggest to Mr. Mitchell that he ask for the resignation of Mr. Hoover.
Do you have hard proof, Mr. Boggs, that congressional telephones have been tapped, or is this just a matter of widespread suspicion on Capitol Hill?
Mr. Clark, I shall have further statements as I go along. I have a group of very competent lawyers researching the whole subject.
Mr. Boggs, could you tell me what has been your own experience with the FBI?
No, sir.
Will you introduce an impeachment case?
No, sir.
You said earlier this morning you'd been placed under surveillance.
Well, I stand on that statement.
Would you make the statement again for the cameras?
Categorically denied that any wiretapping is taking place against telephones of Congress.
Well, if he categorically denies it, I categorically say it's true.
Do you think he's a liar then?
Use any of... You said that. I didn't say it.
Are you saying that without that investigative force, you do have firm facts to show that these phones have been tapped?
No, I didn't say that. I said that any number of members of Congress have come to me and have told me that in their judgment, their phones are tapped. Now, just a minute, if you don't mind, let me answer your question. This is a very hard matter to prove because you would need the FBI to prove it. However, as I said a moment ago, I have a group of lawyers working on the matter, and I expect to have a further statement in the near future.
Why, Mr. Boggs, would you assume that telephone tapping in Congress would be done by the FBI and not some other federal agency or some other party?
Well, as a matter of fact, tapping was done by the military, and surveillance was done by the military in the case of Congressman Mitka and Senator Stevenson and others. What I'm saying is not new.
But how can the suspicions of individual congressmen be directed to the FBI?
Because it's the agency of the government charged with responsibility under the law of wiretap.
Can you tell us how many members have come to you and said they're lying to that?
No, I cannot.
Mr. Boggs, how
I will say this, though, that it's a substantial number.
Would you repeat for the camera your own experience with surveillance?
No, I don't care to do that.
You have any? Can you tell us whether you feel your phone was tapped?
I don't have any doubt about it.
Can you tell us why? What happened?
I told you that I'd have a further statement. I'm not going to elaborate any more on it this time.
I mean, in your particular case.
I'm not going to elaborate on my particular case.
Clickings on the telephone or noises on the telephone?
I'm not going to elaborate.
Do you have any evidence of what the information gathered was used for? What kind of evidence again?
Yes, I do, but I'm not going to elaborate on that either.
Mr. Boggs, you very strongly drew a parallel between Hoover and Adolf Hitler.
No, I did not. Now, hold on. I didn't do anything of the kind. I said that the violation of the Bill of Rights and some of the tactics that have been alleged as a result of these documents that were stolen and have come to light were comparable to what Hitler did. I did not compare Mr. Hoover to Hitler. And I wouldn't dare do it. Mr. Hoover was a very honorable man.
How would you characterize the personal relationship?
It's always been very pleasant. But when you get as old as Mr. Hoover is, and you make as many mistakes as he's made, the times come for him to retire. It just isn't right for an old man to violate the Bill of Rights of our Constitution.
What mistakes did he make?
Well, it's been documented. Read the stories in the Washington Post and the New York Times.
Is wiretapping being carried out with the knowledge of the White House? Do you know, Mr. Boggs?
I told you that I was going to document my statement about wiretapping later. I'm not going to say anything further about wiretapping.
Are you going to make this a political issue?
Of course not. This is not a political issue. This is a question of whether or not we maintain our freedoms. It's got nothing to do with politics.
Mr. Boggs, how does it happen, sir, that you have decided to do this yourself? I mean, if other people feel strongly about this, why have they not joined you?
Well, number one, I'm a majority leader of the House of Representatives. It's my responsibility. Number two, as I said a moment ago, I don't think that my colleagues elected me to preside over the liquidation of the Bill of Rights.
Boggs, why won't you produce your evidence now?
Because I want it thoroughly documented by competent lawyers. That's all, gentlemen.
Will we have copies of our tables?
Now, as Majority Leader, Boggs often campaigned for others, including Representative Nick Betchich of Alaska. On October 16, 1972, Boggs was aboard a twin-engine Cessna 310 with Representative Bekich who was facing possible tight race in November 72 in general election against Republican candidate Don Young when it disappeared during a flight from Anchorage to Juneau. Also on board were Beckich's aide Russell Brown and pilot Don Johns. The four were headed to a campaign fundraiser for Beckich. In search for the missing aircraft, it included the Coast Guard, Navy, Army, Air Force, Civil Air Patrol, and civilian fixed-wing aircraft and helicopters. An emergency position indicating emergency locator transmitter was not required at this time, but the accident influenced the adoption of that requirement in 73. No emergency transmission signal determined to be from the plane was heard during the search. In its report on the accident, NTSB stated the pilot's portable emergency transmitter permissible in lieu of fixed transmitter on the plane was found in aircraft at Fairbanks. The report also notes that a witness saw an unidentified object in the pilot's briefcase that resembled, except for color, the portable emergency transmitter. The safety board concluded that neither the pilot nor aircraft had an emergency locator transmitter. Search was suspended after 39 days. Neither the wreckage of the plane nor the pilot's and passengers' remains were ever found. After a hearing and 7-minute jury deliberation, his death certificate was signed by Judge Dorothy Tyner. After Boggs and Beckich were re-elected posthumously, House Resolution 1 of January 3, 1973 officially recognized Boggs' presumed death and opened the way for special elections. Same was done for Beckich. It's been investigated. His wife, who he married in 1938, Lindy, was elected in the special election, and she kept that seat for 8 consecutive terms. So that's some strangeness dealing with his disappearance. So, what do you think? Do you think this is a conspiracy? Do you think that this is something just strange? What do you think? Now, his daughter went on and became kind of famous as well. She's Cokie Roberts, the journalist. She leans Democrat, but I mean, considering who her parents were, that's not surprising. It's, matter of fact, his wife became the U.S. ambassador to the Holy See, or, well, to the Vatican, and served until 2001. Thomas Hale Boggs Jr. was a lobbyist and a lawyer, and Barbara Boggs Sigmund, who served as mayor of Princeton, New Jersey, and William Robertson Boggs, who died as an infant. So, this guy was steeped in the Democrat Party. He went against J. Edgar Hoover. He went against Nixon. Nixon was known to be paranoid, and, well, Hoover was Hoover. So, could this possibly have been the case that that's what happened to him? Could it be that, well, those same forces are at work today doing things that we don't want to have happen? It's just for something for you to think about. This has been Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Y'all have a good day now. Bye. Folks, I just want to say thank you for listening. I want to thank you for taking your time. I want to hear what your comments are about what you think on this topic, because your comments are what's important, not necessarily mine. I don't care if you're Republican. I don't care if you're conservative. I don't care if you're liberal. I don't care if you're Democrat. I want to hear your opinion on these topics. I want to thank you yet again for listening to my video. Like, subscribe, and all that other hoopla. This has been Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Y'all have a good day now. Bye.